Welcome to Hidden Images Podcast, powered by Next Level Internet Radio. I'm your podcast host, Sabrina Ford. And for this next 2 hours, we're bringing you nothing but the biz as it relates to Hispanic entrepreneurs, Hispanic businesses, and Hispanic culture. You guys, we have a very special episode today. As you all know, it is Hispanic Heritage Month, and if you know me, you know I love the Hispanic culture, the community, the people, the food. Oh my gosh, the food is so amazing. And today we are joined here live in the station with special guest Sabrina Luna. But before we dive into her story, before we dive into her business, I just want to talk about today's lunch we have today here. Y'all enjoying it already?
Yeah.
Okay. I stopped off today at Mija's Taqueria and I grabbed some nice, wonderful food. Let's look here. I'm just going to turn the camera really quick just to show y'all what we've got. Oh my gosh. Tell us what we got here.
What was the burger called? Because this burger is smashed.
The burger is very good. Let me look at the menu again. It's in Dallas, Texas. They have two locations. One location is on at 9901 Royal Lane in Dallas, Texas. And the second location is at 401 North 78 Highway in Wiley, Texas. I stopped at the one here on Royal Lane. Of course, it's just down the street. But the burger, here's their menu. The burger that we're eating today is the Mija's burger. I love it. It's so good. Oh my gosh. It is so good. It is so good. It's delicious. We're sitting here and we're just enjoying this lunch today. I'm going to dive into it really quick. I usually don't do this eating on live, but today I'm going to just take I haven't bitten into my taco yet. How are you guys' taco?
I haven't got to the taco yet.
You haven't got to the taco yet?
Oh, yeah, I didn't wait.
So I'm going to dip it we're going to seriously try this. So this is all of our first time trying this, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So this is all of our first time trying it. I will admit, I thought these tacos were just a little bigger than they are. But when I opened the box, I was like, wait a minute. These are smaller, but
they had to take it to the street time.
I love it. Oh, that's delicious. Oh, that's delicious.
Right?
Oh my gosh. And Douglas is over here pouring the lemon on there, the lime on there. I missed the lime. These are good. Again.
What is the lime supposed to do? I just do it because everybody else does it.
It adds that flavor.
Yeah,
okay.
That citrus.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That citrus makes it just pop.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Like, I have to have lime or some type of lemon on anything that I buy, like Hispanic food. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite dishes I make at home that I just started making is the caldo de pollo.
Oh, yeah.
I love caldo de pollo.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. It is
so
good.
It's getting cold.
Exactly. And I'm excited for it. I remember, like, last year, I was, my friend and I, we went out day drinking. And we were drunk at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Right?
I like her.
So,
Call me later.
So I was like, oh my gosh. It was like 6 o'clock when we woke up. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not feeling good. So I went in the kitchen. I whipped us up some caldo de pollo. And after that, we ate it and we crashed out again. And we were like, no, we needed that soup. That soup made us feel a lot better.
Next up, try to get that menudo.
You know what? I haven't tried menudo yet.
Yeah,
I'm
try
scared
it.
of menudo.
That's why.
I haven't tried menudo yet.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, because it's a little different. I don't like the tripe personally, but that if you have a hangover, that's a cure.
The
Right
I hear
menudo.
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do
Nice.
Pozole is good too, but it's similar to the chicken soup. Yeah, that you're making. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, well, you know what? We're not gonna smack the entire episode in y'all's ear. Let us actually scarf down a little more of this food. I just wanted to jump on here really quick and introduce today's show. We're going to dive right into a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Hidden Images Podcast, podcast powered by Next Level Internet Radio. And then if you're just now tuning in, I just want to give a shout out to all of my listeners out there. Huge shout out to all of our Hispanic entrepreneurs. It is Hispanic Heritage Month, and we want to celebrate them as well here on Hidden Images Podcast. So today we have a very special guest, Miss Sabrina Luna. Don't confuse her with me. I'm Sabrina with an E. She's Sabrina with an I. I know we look alike, but you know, right. Our names are spelled differently. How you doing today, Sabrina?
Doing well.
Well, thank you for coming in. I really appreciate you. So yeah, let's just start off like we do every show. Tell me a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just go from there.
Yeah. So I didn't even know that there was a whole business owner all inside here. Until very, very recently. So I was going to send you my website and everything, and I just hit the ground running, and all of a sudden I already had people that I was working for and with and everything else. I'm originally from St. Paul, Minnesota. So I have a lot of family back in St. Paul, St. PZ, 651. So I came to Texas 6 years ago. Following the passing of my mom, which was a huge, devastating loss to us. She was a single mom all her life, and me now, I'm a single mom. So I have 3 children. My oldest son is autistic. He just turned 20 yesterday, so it was a busy weekend for us.
Oh, I don't mean to interrupt you. Hold on. You have a 20-year-old son?
Yes, ma'am.
Girl. Yeah. You look amazing. I'm not saying that. Y'all, I know y'all here tuning on live. Don't believe that, right? Like, no, you listening here on Next Level Radio. Sabrina does not look like she should have a 20-year-old. Like, you look good. You look good. Yeah, and then I have a 16-year-old and a 12-year-old. Oh, wow. So, yeah, they keep me busy. I'm sure they do.
But they keep me blessed.
Yes,
oh, my gosh.
exactly.
There's days that I just felt like I couldn't go anymore. And they would run in and they would need something or want something or even just give me a hug. And I was like, I can face the world again, you know? So I love them.
I love that.
Yeah. But 6 years ago, we came down here and made the journey. And I had $200 in my pocket and a minivan that broke down when we got here. And I was not used to the Texas weather. So I came from like negative 35 with the wind chill up in Minnesota.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then down here with no minivan, walking 2 miles in over 100 degrees, I was like dying. I was seeing stars. I was like, what is this? Where did I do? But we built a whole life down here. And so we love it. I absolutely love Texas. I've loved the journey down here. God has brought me so many angels just to cross my path and to help keep us going and keep us encouraged and inspired. And it walked me right into what I feel like is now my purpose with my business called Transformation Culture. So Transformation Culture was really birthed out of the struggle that I've always had to really find myself. Like I said, I started as a young mom, so I didn't really have an opportunity to develop and grow and make mistakes and learn, right? I just jumped into motherhood and being a wife. And then after that family plan kind of fell apart, I kind of started on this journey of self-discovery and spiritual discovery. I really never really developed or matured personally, but also spiritually I never developed or matured. So on my path to trying to find all of that, I started finding a lot of passions. And I really came into who I was as a person. And then I really wanted to help other people do that. So I just started coming along people, realizing that they had a passion for music or they had a passion for this or that. And I helped them walk that out. Whether it was, they wanted to create an event or they wanted to create a show or they wanted to do all these different things. I just helped them realize those things. So I just always was supporting it. And whether I was just a face in the crowd and buying a ticket and supporting that way, or whether I was actually there helping them develop a marketing plan or a website or, a business structure or whatever it was. I have a lot of background in the corporate world and in the legal field. I was a paralegal for the first part of my career. And so then I transitioned and went into the corporate world, and it was more like help desk and marketing. So with that background, I kind of have like a plethora of different things that I can help support people with.
Yeah.
So I just started offering that.
I love it. It's so many things that you said that I want to touch bases on. One of the first things that I want to touch bases on is that moment of transparency that you gave when you said there were times where you didn't know who you were and you had to find yourself. It's funny you say that today, because just last night I was talking to my good friend Nadia about the same thing about myself, and I was just telling her, she's like, I want to talk about stuff. I want to talk, Sabrina, but I don't want to talk about business. Let's talk about you. How are you doing? How are you feeling? And I'm so appreciative of that. But I had to let her know now I'm in a space to where it's like I'm still unsure of who I am, because everything I'm developing is it's showing me who I am. And I told her that it really isn't a new woman. Like I told her last night, well, I kind of feel like a new woman, but then I thought about it and I was like, wait, it's not really a new woman. It's just me tapping in to the purpose that I have and me releasing it.
Yes.
And so when I hear you say that, what was the catalyst that made you feel like, okay, I'm sick of my old self. I'm ready to dive into this new woman, this new person, the person I've always been. I'm ready to release that. I'm ready to release my purpose and my journey into the world. What was it that made you say, I'm ready to do that?
A lot of loss, heartache, pain.
Yeah.
But mostly it was, so in my life, I've felt like, especially probably being Chicana, there's the line right from Selena, everybody knows that we're not Mexican enough to be with the Mexican, we're not American,
Yeah.
So, but that's really like, there was always this struggle where I was like, well, I don't fit in. I don't speak Spanish, and oh man, coming up, I got a lot of slack for that. So
I know you did.
I was light skinned. Nobody knew I was Mexican or Puerto Rican.
Yeah.
And I didn't speak Spanish. So once they found out, they were like, "Oh, you're not a real Mexican, though. You're not a real."
So, is your mom Hispanic and your dad's Puerto Rican, or vice versa? Or
yeah. So my mom is Mexican and my dad's Puerto Rican.
Okay.
Yep. So yeah. So there was always this struggle of where do I fit, and through there, I think there's this famous quote about when you find yourself by giving to others, and that's really what it was. So I've always volunteered. I've always found different things to just help people. My heart was always of service. So with my servant heart, I just started going out into the world and filled with questions.
Yeah.
I always say I'm a wandering wanderer.
Because
I
understand.
I'm always wondering about something. I'm like, what's that? Where's that? How do you do that? What is that? And then I just wander around the world, and I'm just like, what's over here, guys? Like,
but that's how you learn, though.
Yeah. And so my whole life has just been exploring.
Yeah.
So I walk everywhere, and they're like, oh my God, how do you know so much? Like, you just got to Texas. How do you know so many spots already? I was like, I don't know. I just walked in the door.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
I just walk in the door. I see something. I go over there, check it out. But yeah, so just with all those questions and things, I just really started finding people that I could help. And when I started to help other people, that's really when I found myself. And it helped me more than probably even them. So.
You know what? It's funny how the things we develop end up helping us more, because like even with the Win with Purpose tour, me being the founder, the other day I made a transparency post, about my divorce, about things that I'm going through, about sometimes like here recently I've had to sleep in my car a couple nights, stay here, stay there. I've been kind of like all over the place since my husband and I separated. And so I just let a transparency moment happen. And I shared it on our Facebook group and the Win with Purpose tour. And one of the ladies in the group reached out to me and was like, Sabrina, if you need a place to stay, you need somewhere to go, my home is open for you.
Wow.
And I'm the founder of Women with Purpose Tour. but it's helping me. Like, I want to, like, at the same time, right? So that's how I know, and I know you know, that at the end of the day, what we're developing, what we're coming out with, the content that we create, everything we put out in the world, it's a reflection of us, but it also helps us too.
Yeah.
Because I always sit on my podcast and I tell people everything that I talk about, everything I discuss is for me too. Mm-hmm. I never get on a podcast episode and any information that we share, I know it all, or some of the stuff I've studied it right before I come in.
Right. I just learned this 5 minutes ago.
Right. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. This is
That
for
part.
me to, like, I'm scared to talk in front of people. So having the podcast helps me. Like this, like everything I do helps me as well. Yeah. I love that I'm hearing you say that.
Well, see, so with that, that's how you know, especially that you were able to be vulnerable and that people backed you in that.
Yep.
You know, and supported you. That's how you know that you're creating something real and authentic.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that it's working.
Yep.
You know, because that's really what it's about.
That's
it's
what
about
it's
a
about.
network, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've always really, really believed that well, I feel like anybody can say anything about me, but they can't say I'm fake.
Yeah.
Because I might look messy at times in my life because life is messy.
Yeah.
Life is
That's
not
true.
pretty and perfect
Mm-hmm.
and wrapped in a bow.
Yep.
So as I stumble through, I'm just real with it.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to fake it. I'm not trying to front for anybody. Like, this is just how I'm walking it out. And then when I come back with the lessons and I come back strong, I just want you to be encouraged that you could do it too.
Exactly.
Because look how crazy I just looked 5 minutes ago. Right. Just saying.
That's how I feel. It's like, you know, this journey that I'm on, especially with this year, I'm honestly like so ready for 2023. But I'm also ready to see the progress, to see where I was. Okay, last April I was here. Last September I was here, but no, this year I'm here. I'm there. So
right.
It takes time. It's gonna take a lot of energy, a lot of effort, a lot of sacrifice. Mm-hmm. That's the main thing that it's gonna take. One thing
I would say is I've learned not to rush time. As young as I look, I'm not. And as hard as some of these years are, I really am like, I want to sit in it. Mm-hmm. Because I know how quick those minutes pass. Yep. And that you'll never get them back.
Yep, that's true.
And I don't want, when my mom passed away, I kept myself very busy. Mm-hmm. Because I wasn't ready to feel anything. Yeah. And when I did that, and I numbed with a lot of things that I shouldn't have. Mm-hmm. But when I came out of that, and I moved to Texas, I promised myself, hey, you're going to feel this now. Because when you feel it and you walk through it, you're going to be able to learn and heal. If you don't have that healing, then it's just going to be able to recur and re-hurt you over and over and over again. And I don't want to be back in that spot. Yeah. Because I'm about to progress. And I'm not going to let my kids have to deal with the same mom version of me over and over and over again, because I was not a good mom at that time. Mm-hmm. So I want to be able to get better and give better to them and to everybody else that I would connect with, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what, Sabrina, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll let the sponsors come in and do their thing. And then we'll get right back into it. Back to Hidden Images podcast, powered by Next Level Internet Radio. I'm your podcast host, Sabrina Ford. And if you're just tuning in, again, it is Hispanic Heritage Month. And this month, we're celebrating them all month long with all Hispanic guests, Hispanic food, the culture, and we're just going to dive right back into it. So today, we're talking with Sabrina Luna. How are you?
Doing good.
You enjoying the podcast so far?
Yes.
We just getting started. Yeah, right? Well, we're just getting started, so we're just going to dive back into it. And so I just want to talk more about you and then more about your brand, and then we'll get to one of our new segments here in just a little bit. Okay. But yes, tell me, you've got a podcast too, right?
Yeah, so right now it's a live show. It takes place every Monday at 7 p.m.
Nice.
I typoed, so if you've seen it yesterday, me promoting it, it's at 7, not 6. But yeah, so it's myself, RJ Prince, and Rooster, LOA Rooster, 2 comedians that I know just from the comedy scene here in Dallas.
I met them both. Shout out to Rooster, and shout out to Prince, RJ Prince. I've just seen him perform. I actually haven't physically met him yet. But I've seen him perform at a fashion show. But I've met Rooster. We've hung out.
Both of them
did photo shoots together.
Yeah, and then our sound engineer is Will Majors. He's a DJ at Red Goose, and then he's also done a lot of good work.
You know Will Douglas? Oh, okay. You see, Douglas knows everybody.
I see that.
If you're an entrepreneur and you don't know Douglas, you better get to know Douglas.
Seriously.
Will's a good dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. So yeah, he's helping us out with all of the sound production, and he does pictures, and he does all sorts of great things. He's a very creative person. So all 3 of them are just amazing. Yeah.
So when you say live, do you have a live audience?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So we do it right in the bar. And people, we have a mic that people can come and chime in. So
I want to be there.
Yeah.
Be there, girl. Yes,
I do.
Please. So we cover all the topics that are hard to cover. We want to hit your nerve. So it's called The Nerve on purpose.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like
we'll
that.
get on your last nerve probably, and we're going to hit some nerves. So
I like that.
It all kind of birthed from an argument I had with my daughter.
Hey, life is real.
Right. And it's not fair. It's not fair. And so these kids, they're coming up soft.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to tell them, no, see, not everything's going to be fair. Not everything's going to be equal on purpose. Because we're not created to be equal.
Yep.
And I said, because she was saying, we were talking about race and about a number of other things. If gay, she was kind of questioning sexuality and things like that. And I said, okay, so there's a difference, right? Between, hey, we're equal, like we get the same rights handed to us. But I work real hard and you don't do anything, but we get the same thing. I said, there's a big difference between that.
Yep.
And also the sensitivity. I said, when I came up, we used to roast each other. We used to talk shit. And now, if somebody hurts your feelings, you think they're a bully. Yeah. That's not a bully. They maybe had a bad day. They threw you some attitude, and they hurt your feelings. Yeah. But the next day, you're good. Oh, yeah. So I'm like, there's a huge difference there too. So that's where it kind of came from. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just want to tackle cancel culture, stereotypes. We're just gonna knock it all down. We can make fun of each other's stereotypes. We can talk jokes about culture and race and all sorts of stuff and make fun of each other, and that's okay because it's still all beautiful. The differences is what make us beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I have to be on there next Monday. Every Monday, right?
Yes.
Where is
7 p.m. Red Goose Saloon in Fort Worth. Yeah.
Y'all hear that every Monday.
Take the journey.
Red Goose Saloon in Fort Worth, Texas.
Yes.
The Nerve podcast.
Yes.
Just The Nerve.
The Nerve.
I love it.
Yes.
7 p.m.
Okay. Yeah, it's nice.
Okay.
I like that. Yeah. Well, congratulations to y'all on that. Yeah. How long have y'all been doing that?
This is just going to be our second week.
Nice.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, we've got to get out and support you guys.
Yeah, we're hoping that we get some people to come out and just share some really good opinions. Yeah. And especially if it's not popular opinion. If you have a not so popular opinion, please come out and share it.
Nadia Thomas, that's for you.
She'd be good on
Is she very opinionated?
Yes.
Woo!
Nadia, yes.
Yeah.
That's my business bestie.
Yeah.
And she's always saying, people don't. I always give the unpopular opinions. I'm like, Nadia, you need your own podcast.
Nadia, come on. It's for you. I created it for you.
I love it. Well, Sabrina, I actually have started a new segment here on Hidden Images podcast where we take, I call them hidden gems, right? And hidden gems and quotes. So we take quotes whether it's from a celebrity, a well-known quote, or from a quote like entrepreneurs like ourselves. We take them and we're starting to just give our thoughts on them, dissect them, share how we feel about it. So I have a quote here. I'll share the quote, then after I'll let you know who it's from.
Okay.
So the quote is, I come here today to tell you to rest. The single mother doing it on her own, rest. That is a quote by Antranice Smith, and she quoted that actually at our last Women with Purpose tour in Fort Worth, Texas. So you being a single mom, I thought this was a great quote to share today and for us to dissect into it today. I'm not a mother yet, but I do understand. I have 7 nieces and 7 nephews. So, but I'm not a mother, so I don't fully understand. But to repeat the quote, it's, I come here today to tell you to rest. The single mother doing it on her own, rest. Again, that's a quote by Antranice Smith. Sabrina, what are your thoughts on that quote? You being a single mom, regardless if you're a single mom or not. Right. I think that's a great quote for every mother to have. So what are your thoughts on that?
Even just not even moms, entrepreneurs even. In general, everyone should find time, I think, to rest and rejuvenate. I heard a sermon, and again, I reference my faith a lot. That's what's kept me going, but I respect everyone's faith, so if I don't mean to offend anybody by mentioning it, but
not at all.
I had heard a sermon where they said, you have to take time to. So when warriors go to battle, they have to take time once the battle ends to go and rest and rejuvenate because they know the war's not over.
Right.
And that battle's going to come again at any moment. And they have to stay ready. And the way you stay ready is if you rest.
Yep.
And now when I heard it, I was like, okay, well, when though? Right? Because in life, you don't get a big battle and then you get a retreat necessarily. But as I started walking it out, I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. And rest to me doesn't mean sleeping.
I love that you said that.
Yeah, a lot of people
love that you said that.
So rest means that you're resting your spirit, right? So whether it's taking time in the bath, or if you read, or if you garden, whatever it is that you step away and your soul feels the most peace, that's your rest.
I love that. And I love when you opened up and you said you being a religious person. That's exactly what Antranice said right before she started her saying this, is that the one thing that all religions have in common is that they have a day to rest.
Yes. So I will say this, I'm not religious, so let me correct you.
I understand the difference.
Okay, good. Because yes, I don't connect with a religion, a man-made religion, but spiritually I am a Christ follower. So I will often, reference God and Jesus. So but I had heard a whole, oh my gosh, what is her name? Mary Jo Pierce. She has a whole book about the Sabbath and how to keep it, and even celebrating it with your kids and instilling it in them. And now I couldn't commit to that because I work every day, all day. But
I understand.
Right. But there were things that I started to introduce into our life following a series that I went to with her, which was like taking my kids on individual dates. So I have 3.
I like that.
And so I would take each one to have one-on-one time. And even if it was just a walk, because as a single mom, we don't have money to, go spend all over the place. But even if it was just a walk and a hike in the park or whatever it was, just spending that one-on-one time so that they could be heard and understood with me,
Yeah.
So, just rest.
That's deep. I've never heard anyone say that.
No?
No, I haven't.
Yeah. I mean, I found it was very important, even for me. Like I said, when you start to, even kids can give you so much.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they check me all the time. Especially my youngest. She's so wise, and I'm like, girl, just let me be ratchet for a minute. So I would be walking with them, and sometimes they would just give me these little nuggets, and I'm like, that's so good. I'm like, all right then. Yeah, okay. I'm glad I helped you. So,
but you know what? You know what I love? These kids these days are definitely on a different level than we were when we were younger, right?
Yeah.
But I do love that the kids these days, they do have a voice.
Yes.
Like, and they're using it.
Yes.
And they're not afraid to use it.
Right. Like, sometimes I feel like less is more with talking. Sometimes I'm like, okay, you need to learn when to shut up too. And that's for me too, because like if I get going and if I really feel passionately about something, I'm an Aries and I'm Latina, so I'm like, I'll start going and then my accent comes in and I don't even speak Spanish. Yeah, like just less is more. Sometimes you get the impact of what your heart is across to the other person a lot more without so much words and trying to shove it down their throat, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to get my kids to understand that, because I'm like, especially my 16-year-old, she's very, she's like the one who would have been like burning the bras and protesting everything. She's like,
it's always the middle child.
Right.
I'm the middle child. So I have that middle child syndrome. I'm the wild one.
Too.
I'm the one that protests.
And the thing is but I want her to stay open-minded. So at 16, and I know I was hard-headed at 16 too. But I also had a baby. And I thought I knew a lot more than I knew. And, you know, life really quick showed me that I didn't know anything. But I just don't want her to have those same hard lessons.
I understand. I get it.
And so she's trying to be so strong and opinionated. Yeah. But she doesn't have the experience or the basis for those opinions yet. And I'm like, babe, you gotta like explore a little bit. Because I tell my kids all the time too, no matter who tells you something, you always got to check it out for yourself. Make sure it's truth.
Renee,
always seek
tell
truth.
Tell her to take a philosophy class and tell her to study Rene Descartes.
Oh.
Rene Descartes says question everything. So you're right to tell her that.
Yes.
It doesn't matter who it comes from, mom, dad, grandma.
Exactly.
Not necessarily question them, but do your research behind what information has been given to you.
Yes, I tell her that all the time. Even if it's me that's telling it to you.
Yeah.
I want you to find it for yourself.
Yeah.
You're going to find the truth because I'm right. No, I'm just kidding. I love it.
I mean, I'm right anyway, but you can go research here, here, and
waste
here.
Your time. That's fine.
I love it. I love it. So let's take a quick commercial break and we'll get right back into it. Welcome back to Hidden Images Podcast, powered by Next Level Internet Radio. I'm your podcast host, Sabrina Ford. And if you're just now tuning in, you're tuning into a great episode today. We've got Sabrina Luna here in the station, and we're talking all things related to Hispanic entrepreneurs and Hispanic culture. Right before the commercial break cut out, we were talking about me singing karaoke and just stepping out of my comfort zone and singing Spanish karaoke. So we were talking about some Hispanic and Latino musicians. And so let's just dive into that.
Yeah.
So who are some of your favorite? Because like I just said, I'm just getting into it. So I love Alejandro Fernandez.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
So, I don't sing Spanish music at all. I am
Hold on, I'm sorry, Sabrina.
No.
I love how she's letting everybody know. Look, I don't speak Spanish, so Sabrina, you can just stop right there.
That's that. No, I only started singing karaoke. So I sang for my ex-boyfriend, and his reaction when I started singing, he was like, And the way he looked at me, I was like, oh, okay, I feel some type of way about this. I'm going to do all this more. So I've sang just a few times now in front of some folks.
Yeah.
The last time I did it, it was at Arlington Improv.
Okay.
And so I started singing, and it was a room full of Black folks, and they were like, oh, and I was like, oh my God, they think I'm doing pretty good. I was like, I don't know where to go from here now. I really thought they were gonna boo me off stage. So I was like, oh no, what do I do? So I all of a sudden I was like, DJ, kick my shit. And so he remixed it into Shoop by Salt Pepper.
Yeah.
So I started out with a country song, and it was kind of slow. It was I Feel a Sin coming on. And it's very like, ooh, sexy. And then all of a sudden that's when he put on Shoop, and I finished it out with that. But yeah, I love dancing. I love singing to myself. I don't know that I'm a fan of karaoke, but it is fun.
It is fun.
If I drink a little bit.
You know, that's what we had to do. Get a little drinks.
Yes.
And the very first time I was with my friends, and that's what we had to do. I'm like, y'all, let me get a couple drinks in me. Once I get these drinks in me, I think I'll be good. Then we went on together first. After we went on together first, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm cool. I got this.
Yeah.
So then I jumped on there, and the first song I sang was Caballero. And then we all kind of jumped on there again. And then I jumped on by myself again and did Pepe Aguilar. I can't remember if it was Como Eres Tú?
Oh, okay.
Como Eres Tú. I think that's which one I sang. Either way, I've sung both of those songs several times on live. Like, I need to learn some new songs. Are those the only Spanish songs you know? Right now, yes.
You don't know any of Selena songs?
Oh, of course.
Okay, I was like,
Supuesto, es Selena. Like, yes.
Or any J-Lo or Mark Anthony?
You know what? J-Lo. I like J-Lo.
I know.
Don't get me wrong.
Don't
get me wrong.
Be careful, because J-Lo's a little bit of a Hispanic, like I'm a Hispanic. So
she is,
I'm just
but
kidding.
when it comes to like when I think about Mexican music, Hispanic music, Latino music, J-Lo does not. No.
That's why I said she's
J-Lo
kind of Hispanic
doesn't,
like I am. Like,
J-Lo doesn't. Yeah, she doesn't.
She's
but
the Taco
I
Bell
love her
version.
music. Yes.
Yes,
so don't get me wrong. Sorry, J-Lo. Nothing against you, hon. I'd love to have you on my podcast one day, but
so we can talk more about this.
Yeah, I mean, you know what's funny? It's like, so when I'm out and I'm speaking Spanish, or I'm not speaking Spanish, let's say I'm not, and I'm out somewhere, and let's just say I'm at a restaurant, and the person behind the counter is Hispanic, and the customer in front of me is Hispanic, and they're talking to each other in Spanish, right? So when I walk up there, they start talking to me in English.
Oh, okay.
I turn to my friends and I tell them, pero ¿por qué no hablen conmigo en español? Like, why you not talking to me?
Yeah.
I'm teasing them because, of course, they don't know that.
Right.
But I think it's funny, and sometimes, like, I low-key get offended. Like, why you ain't talking to me in Spanish, too?
And I don't get offended. I'm like, because they'll start talking to me, and I'm like, I'm not going to talk back. Like, even if I know what they're saying, I've started to get more comfortable with it now.
Yeah.
I remember my cousin, when I was younger, she was like, why don't you speak it? Because I would know certain things, especially when I was younger.
Yeah.
I was more fluent up until the age of 7. And then my grandmother passed, and I wasn't really with her that much. And so I started to lose it. Because, again, my mom, single mom, working all the time. She didn't know Spanish herself. So, I just lost it. But she told me, that's who you are. That's part of who you are.
Yeah.
You need to know it.
Yeah.
And I was like, And that always stuck with me, because I was like, do I though?
Yeah.
Because, it is part of who I am. But I've always just really connected with being a Chicana, being, Mexican American, being, we do have our own culture here that has evolved.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so...
and I think Selena has a big part to play in that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the crossover and stuff like that,
Yeah.
being that she didn't even speak Spanish herself, like, So, yeah. But karaoke... We're gonna have to go karaoke.
I love it. I'm with you.
Right?
After I support you on your guys' podcast,
Yes.
we'll make plans and we'll do karaoke. Matter of fact, we all can go. Rooster too.
Yeah. And now that I know he's a model and he does all these things, I'm gonna be like,
Yeah,
no.
the last photo shoot we had with him, it was me, Quaylen, Nadia was there. We had another young lady, Kiara was there. We were on a boat. And
on
Rooster
the boat.
and Kiara, they took some amazing photos. Like, they were so pretty. But yeah, he's definitely a model. Definitely. He's a looker.
Yeah.
He's a looker.
He looks at a lot of things.
Wow. But you know what? I want to talk more about the culture.
So the grandmother that I was speaking of was actually my dad's grandma.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad, growing up, was not part of my life, but his mom very much was.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was his mom, my grandma Rosa. She was the Puerto Rican. So all I remember is she had a huge TV, and we would always watch novellas. And she was always cooking something.
Yep.
And so she was always cooking, and then she'd run around the corner and she'd be into the TV, and she'd have all these she was so expressive. She couldn't believe what was happening on these novellas.
Yep.
And so I just remember looking, and I was like, oh my God, what happened? What are they doing? You know, so I'm over there too, like, oh my God. And so my mom was like, you watch TV just like your grandma, because I'd be so expressive. But that's who I learned Spanish through. She died of breast cancer when I was young. I was about 7 when she passed. And so then I was always around Spanish speakers. Because, again, so I started hanging out with my mom's family more. All of them Mexican. A lot of them knew Spanish. And if they didn't know, I should say, I wasn't always around Spanish speakers. I was around Spanglish speakers. Yeah. So I'm a big proponent of Spanglish.
Me too. I did that the other day on the podcast. I was like, happy lunes. And I'm like, wait a minute.
Right. Let's just mix it up. Just mix it up. But so that's what I speak. And there were words that I didn't even know were Spanish words that I would use growing up. And my friends would be like, what is that? And I'm like, that's basura. And they're like, oh, well, what do you mean? Like, it's what? And I'm like, it's trash. But I didn't know that word yet. And I was like, I don't know how else to tell you. How do you not understand what I'm saying? Until I went back to my house, and my mom was like, that's because it's in Spanish. And I was like, what do you mean? We don't speak Spanish. And she's like, well, sometimes. That's when I first made the connection where I was like, oh, so you do know. And she's like, no, I don't know. So it was that's the first introduction I had to Spanglish, like this mix of the American culture with our Hispanic heritage. So, yeah.
I love it. So I know there's even within the Black and African American culture, just as I just said it, Black and African American as far as term and verbiage. So just for all the listeners out there, explain the different terms. Is it if somebody were to just approach you and just assume that you're Mexican, is that the correct term, or Hispanic or Latina or Spanish? Or let's just share a little bit about that.
Oh, there's so much sensitivity around that.
It is.
Yes.
It is.
So most of the time people will say Hispanic and Latino are not a thing. That's not what we are. There's a whole tribal heritage that you miss out on when you identify with those words. For simplicity's sake, when Europe decided to run the whole world, right, and name everybody, they were like, okay, so all of these people they're kind of brown, and we'll just call them Hispanic, and they speak this one language. But it's not even the same language. So it's Spanish. But if you talk, so it's so funny because now in my later years, I've reconnected with my father. And I've started to learn more. Yeah. Good for him. No, just saying it.
No,
just saying. Yeah, it's both of
I
us.
get it.
It is. It's a blessing. But so he was telling me a little bit more about his story, and there was a time. So he's again Puerto Rican family, whatever. He speaks Puerto Rican Spanish. Well, there was a time when he went to Mexico, and he lived in Mexico. Well, he started speaking more Mexican Spanish, and he came back. People didn't understand, or they made fun of him because they were like, "What are you talking about? Like, why are you saying it like that?" And so, just those different dynamics. Also, growing up, I remember the first time that I ever faced racism myself personally. So I faced it, inside the culture, similar to African American culture, where light skin and
dark skin.
Yes.
Yep.
So on my Puerto Rican side, there we have dark skin Puerto Ricans that are darker than you.
Yep.
And then I have blonde hair, blue eyed.
Yep.
My Mexican side is all different colors and shades of brown and all sorts of things. But I was playing with a friend of mine. Never forgot this. I was probably about 7 or 8 myself. It was probably around the time my grandmother passed. She was a little white girl, and we were playing. All of a sudden, her mom just came and told her she had to go in the house. Well, she never came back. The next day, I tried to ask to see if she could play. She couldn't play, and I went to the house. And actually finally got to talk to her, and she was like, "My mom said I can't play with you anymore because you're Mexican." And I was like, "Oh, I thought you knew I was Mexican though." And she was like, and they just shut the door on me. And I was like, "Oh, so," and that was so hurtful to me.
Yeah.
I never forgot that.
Yeah.
And so, and I remember going home and I had so many questions for my mom. I'm like, "But I don't understand and I don't get it." I'm like, "Why? What does that mean? Like, what's wrong with us? Like, I don't get it." And so, I just remember, and I'm sure so many people have so many stories of how they've encountered different things like that, racism or even just prejudice, for socio class and everything else, or social economic class. But it's just, it was just one of those things that stood out to me. I don't know.
I mean, anything hurtful like that is gonna stand out.
Yeah.
And it's hard to forget things like that. And I don't think you should forget them because there's lessons.
Yeah.
Now that you have your children, you're able to teach them, share your experiences, and let them know, the racism just isn't right.
Right.
And I think we're seeing a lot of young people. Actually, I've seen a video where this young girl, I can't remember how old she was. She definitely was a teenager, but her parents were racist. But she's telling them and questioning them and giving them like, "You guys are wrong. You shouldn't treat people like this because of the color of their skin."
Right.
And that's why I say, like, the young folks right now, they're speaking up.
Yeah.
They're not this Gen Z or whatever.
Right.
Whatever you want to call them.
Well, my daughter has the same thing because my youngest, so my 2 older ones are tan. They look more Mexican. My youngest, she looks more like me. She's very light skinned. And she has light colored eyes, light hair, and she gets hurt feelings all the time. She's like, "Mommy, they're always calling me like white girl. They're always doing this and that and whatever." She's like, "Why do they even have to identify?" I said, Mija, you're going to have to maybe just build up some skin to that because I say that all the time. That white girl just said this or she did that or, that Mexican girl or that black girl. I was like, and that's just how I was raised talking, and I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm saying something hurtful. It's like an identifier because I've identified like that all my life, But, she gets so hurt and they make fun of her like she's a ghost and she's all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And so just watching her walk that out, just thinking about how like with the culture being mixed like this, being more rooted in the American culture, like how that plays in even now and how she is such a person who wants to bring in tradition. And I've lost a lot of that because of that experience when I was young. I started to try and push more of the cultural stuff away because I was like, "Oh, well, this isn't acceptable."
Oh.
And so I was like, okay, so maybe I need to be more white or more American, and that's what's right. That's what's better, And so I started to push it away. Well, then once I got to middle school, I'll never forget walking up on my friend Andrea and her friends. All these Mexican girls, they look real chola, they all have like their Dickie gear on and all that kind of stuff. 90s of us. But so she And she looked so serious, and it's me, you know. So like, I've always had the same personality, so I'm walking up to anybody, I don't care, and I'm like, hey, what's up, hey, what's everybody doing?
I'm like, connect,
right? I was like, you seen it, right? You felt it. But I was like, hey, you know, I'm Sabrina, and she's like, I shake hands. She's like, I have manners, I shake hands. That's what she told me. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I'm Sabrina. I didn't even take no offense to her whole attitude. And she was like, hi, I'm Andrea. And best friends ever since.
Wow.
So, yeah, to this day, she's like my sister. But it's so funny because that's when I really started hanging out with her and then, like, a lot more Latinos.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because then it was back to, well, now I want to be more in my culture, you know, because I lost so much of it trying to push it away.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to regain it and find that identity again.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's that pursuit of my identity. You know, where does it all come from? Where do I fit in? So.
I mean, it takes a while. Like, even for me, I'm half Black American and I'm half African American. Like, my dad, he's from Nigeria.
Okay.
But for me, it was a cultural shock because I didn't even know I was half Nigerian until I was around like 13 years old.
Oh.
Yeah. So I grew up with my sister's dad. I thought he was my father growing up for a long time. Like, I saw pictures of me and my father together when I was like maybe 2 or 3, but after my mom and him separated and they both moved on with their lives, I didn't remember him. So at around 13 is my story of when I felt like I met my father. I realized I was half Nigerian. There's a whole nother culture running through my blood I didn't even know about. Yeah. And so now I still have a lot to learn about myself, about the Nigerian culture, about where my father comes from, about Natia back home in Africa. I've never been to Africa, but neither have my siblings on my father's side, so I don't feel too bad for it because they haven't been yet either. But it's definitely a cultural shock. It's definitely, it is. And, you know, I tell my dad all the time, like, I love you. I love the culture. I love where you come from. I love what you stand for. Mm-hmm. Please forgive me, but I'm American. I don't mean to be too rude or disrespectful to him or to my culture, but I grew up American. Right. So it's hard not to be American because him and we clash a lot, you know, especially when we first met. I'm like, Dad, like, I'm trying to listen to this hip hop. I'm trying to, you know.
He's like, stop all that twerking.
Yeah, like, Sabrina, come try this foo-foo and do this. But, you know, so culturally, I personally still have a lot to learn about myself. Yeah. So we're on a learning journey together. So we need to start checking in with each other.
Right.
And, so it's definitely, life itself takes you just so many different turns and places and this and that, and then trying to figure out who you are as life is steady going, because life isn't going to stop. Right. It's a lot.
Well, it's a lot. And that's really where, you know, transformation culture came from that's that pursuit of identity, spirituality, just trying to figure out life and yourself, right? But that's where my heart of service came from too, because that's where we talked, I think, during the break about struggle breeding compassion. Yep. You know, if you're not walking through those fires, you might not have compassion the same way for somebody who is.
That's true.
When you were very vulnerable in sharing how, you know, you didn't have a place to live. Mm-hmm. I was there too not so long ago. I didn't have a car. Yeah. I didn't have, you know, me and my kids, the sheriff was like coming to our door, like at our door, ready to kick us out and throw all our stuff on the street. You know, I didn't have any money. My jobs weren't coming through, like all these different things. But when I see other people walking out those struggles now, I have so much compassion and heart for them. Yep. And especially if I see them working for it, right? Because sometimes you're working. And I really was. I was out there every day. I was applying every day. I was doing everything that I could possibly do to find little side projects and get money and everything else. And when I see other people walking that out and I see them working hard, I'm like, oh no, I gotcha. Yeah. You know, and even if I don't have the funds to get it to you, I bet you I know somebody who might have a
Right.
open room,
Mm-hmm.
or I might know somebody who has
Yep.
this or that.
Mhm.
I've always thought, you know, especially in the brown and black community, like there is a sense of partnership. There's
Yep.
a sense
I agree.
of, right?
That's why this podcast is for us.
Yeah, I've never understood how people can't live connected.
Yeah.
Because I came from a community where it was small, tight-knit, and man, did we hate that sometimes. We're like, man, why is everybody in my business? Everybody knows my business. But when somebody passed or if somebody needed something,
Yeah.
you better believe we had a benefit going. We had baskets. Everybody was making a basket, bringing a basket to the local bar, and we were having everybody pay $10 or whatever they could, and we were getting it together for that person, you know, and we made it happen.
Yeah.
And if my son, if I didn't have enough money to make sure that my son could play football, they rallied and they got it together.
Yeah.
My son was playing. So it's just always been in me, that sense of community. And so I'm a volunteer with Texas Juvenile Justice Department.
Okay.
Very strongly, I believe, this is something else me and my daughter sometimes clash on, because she's very like women power and feminist, and
I love her.
Oh my God,
she's
girl.
a queen.
We might butt heads. Because I'm like, I am for equality. Like, if I do the same job as somebody else, I want to get paid for it. I don't care if you're a man, woman, whatever.
Right.
But I believe that men and women were created different.
Oh, I do
on
agree with
purpose.
that. I agree with that.
And
yeah.
so I'm like, no, I feel like there's an attack on masculinity a lot.
Yeah.
Because everybody's like, oh, it's toxic, it's this, it's that. And it sometimes gets mislabeled or misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just really wanted to, especially when I started volunteering with these boys that were incarcerated, our youth, most of them are Black and Mexican.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And fundamentally, and I'm probably going to get a lot of feedback on this, but I think as a society, it's been set up that way sometimes.
Oh,
from jump.
that's true. Yeah.
So I get frustrated with that, because our young men don't know the power that they have inside them and their position, you know, in the family and in our homes and in our lives, and how that is so important to whoever they end up with, as a wife, as a partner, as a father, you know. And so I really started I am, every pain that I've had has come from a man. So
that's deep.
There has not been,
because I have stories for that too.
There has not been one time. Well, and as I shared, you know, not having a dad growing up, that's where it started.
Yep. Thanks.
So I've really not connected to wanting to help men at all, because I felt like I was always beat down by them, literally sometimes and figuratively. So I figured out, God kept putting me in this path of trying to help and support men, and I was like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I was bucking at the process.
Yep.
But then once I found myself with these young men, I walked in the room and I see my brother in each one of them. My brother and I have not been the same since my mom passed away. That's very hurtful to me. But, when I walked in that room and I seen each one of those boys, I was like, these are kids, number one. And they are young Mexican and Black kids. And these young men need to know how powerful they are. And how much purpose they're filled with. And they need to know their identity. Just like I needed to know. And that's where all of that started too. I was like, I'm gonna start doing this. And I actually teamed up with Emma. She's the one who got me in there, into the facilities to start with. She's now birthed her own business out of it, her own nonprofit called Regeneration on Fire. So you'll see me posting about her a lot.
Okay.
But I'm helping her do her website and get all of her stuff together. But yeah, an amazing woman. And she is, with the backing of her husband, they go into all of our state schools, and they want to start doing more. For Christmas, they buy gifts. They make sure that these boys never feel forgotten.
Oh, wow.
Because a lot of our men that are sitting in prison feel forgotten. They feel lost too. And the difference is that they have pride though, you know, whereas these young boys, they're still seeking. So sometimes that pride hasn't built up enough, that ego hasn't built up enough where they're rejecting it yet, where we can still get to them. And even in men, I'm not saying that men are beyond help, because they are not.
Right.
I'm just saying that these young boys are still seeking and they're receptive to what we're doing. So,
yeah, and which is true.
Yeah,
which is true.
But
in
it's
any
all
aspect.
about that identity that we're talking about, you know.
Yeah.
And I want them to know, you know, their culture, and I want them to know if you're Mexican, I want you to know that, you know, how that works in you, you know, because I think it's so precious. I don't want us to bleed culture out of things. Because as much as I'm like, I don't speak Spanish, I don't do this, I don't do that, I want that culture to be alive. Yeah. It's beautiful. It's amazing. And it is really, and a lot of the things that I do, it's very rooted in it.
So the one thing that I learned on my journey to, you know, learn more about the Hispanic culture is that the language isn't the culture. Right. You can be connected to the culture without speaking the language.
Right. And I need a lot of food.
And you and what I'm hearing is that you are very much connected to the culture, even though you don't exactly speak or are fluent in the Spanish language. That doesn't mean that culturally you're not who you are. Right. I get it. I get it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not always the easiest thing to explain. And even like just even talking about, you know, cholas and like the dress.
You know what a chancla is, right?
Oh,
there you go.
I still have marks. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. No,
Douglas, in case you don't know what a chancla is, just picture yourself getting beat with a switch in the black culture, but in the Hispanic culture, they mama pick up that sandal. It's called a chancla, and they gonna throw.
Oh wow.
Oh my God, Mama had such good aim too. I'd be running down a narrow hallway and I'd still get clocked in the head.
Oh wow.
I love it. I love it because every time I see funny videos about that or I hear chancla, I'm like, yeah, I know what that is. Somebody's in trouble.
Yes. I love that too. Just in our culture, like the moms, the grandmother, everybody, women in general are so nurturing and loving, and they always want to feed you and they want to make sure you have what you need and that you're comfortable. Yes. They're caregivers. Yeah. But say something wrong. They're like, what'd you say? Okay. Yes.
I love it.
It's that perfect combination of sweet and sassy that's spicy.
I think the worst thing my mom spanked me with, probably the hardest thing, was that extension cord from the TV. Yeah. Matter of fact, this little bruise right here.
Yeah, I see.
It's from something. I don't know, but I remember getting beat down, and it was. I still have that mark right there.
I was like, I never did that.
No, Mom, I remember, man. You did that. You did that. Yeah.
What'd you do though? That part.
I don't remember what I did.
Of course, you don't remember that part. No, I'm just kidding.
I never. Now I remember one time my aunt. Ooh, she got me good one time. I was at the skating rink. Well, my family and I were at the skating rink. I can't remember whose birthday we were celebrating. But we were at the skating rink, and for some reason, I don't know what I was thinking. I was hungry. I don't know. We didn't eat. I can't remember what happened before. But I saw these nachos sitting on the table. And I was like, I'm just going to eat these nachos. I don't know whose they are. I'm hungry. I'm finna eat. So my auntie, she was just like, Sabrina, what are you doing? That's not your food. You don't know whose that is. And da-da-da-da. I don't even know if it was like a fresh nachos or was it already eaten out of. Like, I can't remember any of that part. All I know is I was hungry. I started eating those nachos. And my auntie was like, I'm getting you after this. You're not going home with your mama. You coming home with me. And we're going to talk about this later. Okay. So we all get in the car. We drop my mama off. I'm trying to be slick. I'm trying to get out the car behind my mama. My auntie was like, no. Mama, your mama don't leave me. My auntie, nope, Sabrina, you staying right here with me. Go stay in this car. So I went back. I had to go back to my grandmother's house with my grandmother and my auntie. And I remember her as soon as we walked in the house. We didn't put nothing down. Sabrina, going up to your Aunt Chris' room. I'll go up to my Aunt Chris' room. My auntie came up there with a belt and beat me down. And the craziest part about that is she acts like she does not remember that. And I'm like, Auntie.
No, you were so naughty. Not just kidding. She was like, how many beatings am I supposed to remember?
Like, you don't remember that, Auntie? She's like, no. good to remember because
I can't eat nachos to this day. I'm traumatized.
Yes, but that's that village, right? I mean, it was my auntie. It wasn't my mom. Like, it was my auntie that made sure that she, taught me that lesson. Like, I could have gotten sick, or somebody could have came over and beat me up for eating their food or whatever.
Right.
Like, but man, that
speaking
village.
of village, though, that can work against us too. Because I remember, my mom and my grandma went at it, but my grandmother was watching me, and I was always with her. This was my mom's mom now. And I was always there, and my cousins came over, my uncle's kids. Well, they were like her favorites, right? So she didn't get to see them as much. So all of a sudden, they did something wrong. They didn't even blame me. They just did something wrong. She blamed me. I got whooped so bad. And I'm like, I can't breathe or anything. And then all of a sudden, they're like, Grandma, we did that though, sorry. And she was like, oh. And I was like, what? So nobody cares that I just got a whole whooping for nothing? I was like, I was trying to tell you. But yeah, so that village sometimes. Like, I'm not bitter, but
No, that's hilarious. Yeah.
Like, dang.
Yeah, I used to be the one to just tell, like, I'll take the heat for it. Doesn't even matter. Like you said,
I was not ready for that one.
Shoot.
I was like, I feel like this is excessive. Like, can we talk first? I need to answer questions. But I'm the same way though now.
Yeah.
Like, I had dated someone early on after my divorce, and he was very good at treating the kids exactly the same. And I was like, oh, I have never met anybody like this. I was so excited that he was good like that, because I was like, yes, I volunteered at the Boys and Girls Club and stuff, and that's exactly how it should be. Like, if I wasn't going to have my kid doing that, I was sure going to tell your kid not to. You know, like,
right.
Or if your kid was getting hurt, or I seen something happening, like, yeah, I'm going to step in, I'm going to say something,
right.
Because it does. You can't have eyes on everybody all the time. And especially me. So my mom only had me until I was 12 years old. Then she had my brother. So she pretty much only had to focus on one at a time,
Yep.
Whereas I had three. And so it was a lot harder to have eyes on everything all the time. So, going places like, again, that sense of community and things like that, going to Boys and Girls Club, or being part of like West Side Boosters or clubs like that community organizations where you could just trust people to be able to have your kids' back. And make sure that they were good,
Yeah.
And I don't think I would have been able to make it without stuff like that, so.
Yeah. I think that's important, again, like, I'm not a mom, but I do rally around my friends who are parents and my sisters. I'm like, if y'all need anything, if you need a babysitter, hey, drop them off, like, bring them with you. Like, yeah, like, I get it, because, like,
I'm ready to go out. Sabrina's babysitting.
I should, and I will. I'm telling you, I will.
25 kids over there.
I sure will. And guess what? They all gonna have pieces of papers, pens. We all gonna learn. They gonna learn some Spanish.
Oh, I'm
telling you, like,
they're all gonna be singing in Spanish. Like,
yeah, exactly. We gonna do some learning.
She got real one.
But yeah, like, even my nieces came over one time. This was during the pandemic. Because I missed them. I'm like, please, sis, let me see the kids for a while. Like, let them come over for a couple of days. So they came over for a couple of days. And yeah, we had lots of fun. We did some learning lessons. I had them do a project on the coronavirus versus the Spanish flu. So they did this little poster board, and I had them looking up stuff, and I'm gonna make sure they come with me. They gonna learn something.
That's how I was until I had my third kid.
Right. So, because I don't have kids, I can do that.
Right. You get excited.
She's like, I was there, but man, after the third one.
Yeah. Because I used to get so, especially with other people's kids, because I get excited to show them and stuff, because they'll be listening, but my own kids, I'm like, oh my God, you guys. Like, why I gotta say this so much? Yeah, like.
I think that is funny. Like, even now, like, I listen to my mom, but like, if somebody else tells it to me, I'm like really listening. Like, I love you, Mom, but I don't know why we do that.
Right.
Why do we do that?
I don't know.
And then
I used to listen to everything my mom said. Like, she was my hero. Like, I was watching her, and I was always just like, what is she gonna do? And why is she acting like that? Or why did she take it that way? She was such a strong person. And I remember when she passed away, I told her, we were laying in the bed. She had cancer, so she was very sick before she passed. And I remember laying there with her, and I was like, Mom, I can't do this. I'm not strong like you. And she was like, yes, you are. She's like, when you need to be strong, Mija, you'll be able to do it. It's all about, it's that birth out of necessity, right?
Yeah.
You birth things out of you that were always there.
Yeah.
We're just sleeping.
Yeah.
But once you need them, they just come out.
Kicks in. Yeah. I get it. Wow. That I've always been that, like, the strong person in the family. I've always been the fighter, the voice, not afraid to speak up or speak out against something. You try to mess with my sisters, like, I'm gonna come after you. Like, I've always been that. But honestly, the tough part for me, I need to tone it down a little bit and look into the feminine side of me and bring that part out. That's why I don't.
Yeah. It's that you catch a lot more bees with honey or flies with honey. What do we want to catch?
Bees.
I was going to say, because I don't want no flies. But yeah, so sometimes it's just having that sweet side. Yeah. And sometimes I forget that too, because through this journey of just self-preservation, really, in my life, I have really had to. I mean, God has showed up big for me. So nothing that I've accomplished, I've done in my own power. For real.
Yep.
Miracle after miracle, where God just stepped in and was like, okay, I see you. I'm going to wait till the very last second when you're stressed out and you hate everything and you feel like you can't go on. And then I'm going to go ahead and come through for you. And I was like, oh, okay, thank you. I was like, okay, now I can. But those miracles. So I always build monuments to those moments of despair and of huge comeback. Yeah. Because I know they're not mine. Yep. They're His. And when I have those moments, and I had to walk through the self-preservation, and bred a lot of pride and independence. And so out of that, I'm kind of like, well, I don't need you, and I don't need. And so that's too where that heart for the young men and for masculinity in general, just understanding the importance of that dichotomy between feminine and masculine came from was I wanted to understand the value of a man, and I really started to ask and pray for it. I was like, I need this understanding. Like, what is this about? Like, is it even important? I've never had a strong, positive man in my life that was consistent. Yeah. And so I'm like, I need to understand. And so once I started getting more and more on that, and I still have trouble walking it out though. Yeah. Because I get very like, well, I don't need you. I got this, you know? And I have that same problem. I need to tone it down. But also, I really wanted to bring that to the young men too. Like, hey, don't always just approach females in some sort of way, because the world is telling you one thing, but that ain't right. It's destroying our families and our relationships, you know? Yeah,
yeah. Now, I think you touched bases on something really quick, like you were saying, like, as far as like, oh, I don't need you. I think a lot of men, and I can't speak for women when they're saying it, but for me, when I think or when I say, oh, I don't need you, I got it or whatever, it doesn't mean that I don't need a man or I don't want to value the men in my life. It just means that for this particular situation or for what I'm doing, I really don't need you. Like, everybody has to be self-sufficient. Yeah. So at the end of the day, we all need each other. But at the end of the day, on certain things, we really don't. Like, you don't need me to hold your hand every morning while you get up, go brush your teeth, Sabrina. Go brush your teeth. Go do your hair. Go do this. Now, come on, let me help you to the car. Help with that hair. Now, I do. But, like, it just, let's just be realistic about what we're really talking about and what we're really saying when we're having those conversations, because I don't think women are out here, oh, I'm independent, I don't need a man. I don't think that's what we were really. Think so? No, I don't.
Because I think that we want. So I think that when a lot of women say, I don't need a man, or like, I got this on my own, I think that spirit that comes behind those words is very much like, not understanding the value of the partner. Because can you live on your own? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you are self-sufficient. Yeah, you can accomplish some stuff.
Yeah.
But we're better together. So you're not going to accomplish the greatness that you have with a partner by yourself. Right. So I think, I just feel like it's more about the heart behind the words than it is about the words themselves. Yeah.
You're right on that. Like, because I know for me, like, not that I need a man, you know, like I said, to guide my every steps in life. Right. But yeah, like you said, that partnership, that's the thing. You're right.
Well, see, because I've had only a couple relationships that were serious, but those taught me a lot. One of them being, so what I heard a lot was that I think I know everything and that I like to take over. And what I got from that was a lot of hurt, because I was like, I know I'm literally saying I don't know anything, but I'm willing, like, I just poured everything I have out in order to accomplish what you wanted. Right. You know, so I learned that it was biblical that women try to come alongside their partner and just make things happen that their partner wanted. So how it was explained to me was, you know, the man has this vision and the woman comes alongside, has a similar vision for her walk. Right. And then whatever you give the woman, she multiplies. So, you know, you give her a house, she gives you a home. That whole kind of cliche, like, you know. But it was true. You know, I just needed a man with a vision. And I haven't found him yet. That, you know, aligns with mine. Right. And my giftings and my vision and my purpose. So that's all I need, is that alignment. And once that alignment is right, then it's unstoppable.
I love that. I think that you answered that and you hit that right on the money, because two people do have to have that alignment. Like, it has to be some type of commonality between the two, especially when it comes to goals in the future. You know, that's part of the reason why, like, I'm divorcing now. It's like our future just didn't align up. Yeah. Like, where I was headed to, or where I'm headed to, and where he was headed to are two different directions. Yeah. Two completely different directions. And so it just time for it to go.
And see, that's exactly what happened with me. So with my marriage, I remember the day that I was like, okay, I'm done with this now. I literally was just done.
I do April 14, 2022.
Oh, dang, you got a date. I ain't good with dates. That was one thing that he didn't like he's like, well, this was the anniversary of our first date. I was like, I don't remember that. I was like, I'm glad I'm that special though, that you remember. We were riding in the car, and he told me how stupid it was that I was always doing something for somebody else, or I was always volunteering. I needed to focus on myself. And I said, okay, well, what? Right. Because this is fundamentally a part of who I am. Right. I had learned that servant heart, me serving others, that is part of who I am. Right. I have a heart for people. Some people have a heart for the environment. Some people, I have a heart for people. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to be who I was created to be while I'm with you. That was the day I was done. I was willing to do anything and everything for my marriage, but if I can't be who I was created to be, then I can't be with you. Right. So, yeah. And like I said, that identity piece was so important to me my whole life. I was not about to give it up as soon as I started figuring it out.
And that's one thing I'm not doing. Like, that's why, like, now the journey that I'm on, I literally, like, I have been molding it into people. Look, I'm busy. I'm an entrepreneur now. I'm living out my life, my dreams on his terms, on my terms. If it's not about business, if we're not talking about the podcast or starting a business or how can I help you or how can you help me, and not necessarily like, because I've told a few people that I'm at a point in my life where I'm just thinking about money, like getting money and how to get out of the financial situation I'm in. But I don't want that to come across as like, oh, I might sound like a gold digger or I'm all about money. Heck, I'm broke right now. Shit, I'm living.
I just need to pay these bills.
Exactly. I gotta get how these bills gonna get paid without money? I've gotta think about life. Like I have to take it more seriously now.
Right.
All those years I've wasted not saving money, not investing, not putting my money in the right spaces or the right places. Now I'm doing that. So you've caught me at a point in my life now to where it's all about getting money.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's so funny you say that, because there's this thing that's been going around that I've seen, and they're like, charge what you're worth and make sure you get paid. And if you really support somebody, like, you'll pay them for what they're doing, you know? And I'm like, except I've always supported people, whether I had money or not. And I'm a strong believer in that. I've just made so many things happen through knowing people and trading services. Yep. Not those kind of services. Get your head out the gutter.
You know what?
Just saying. But just like if you have a need in your business, and I have a need in my business, we swap, because I know you're an expert in this and I'm an expert in that, and we accomplish it. Now all of a sudden we have a whole event, or we have a whole thing, and we're making money on it, and we split it, and we're good, and now we both have a paycheck. So it's not always about the bottom line, the dollar, right? But it's about the connect. It's about the people. I'm telling you, it is. It's about the people, and it's about if I see you struggling, and I know I can step in and fill that need, and I have the time to do it, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Yeah. I'm not gonna ask you what you're gonna do for me, because I know that down the line, even if you don't do it, whatever burst through my experience with you, I'll probably get what I need. Oh yeah. You know, just by giving what I, from the goodness of my heart. Yeah. So, I just always have felt like, it was never about, give and get, right? It's always just about me walking out what my passions are and what my purpose is. And yeah, everybody needs money, but honestly, I've had $0 for a really, really long time. Yeah. And we've now had a place to live every single month. We've had food. We've had opportunity that I didn't even expect. And it took me to a whole nother level of understanding who I am and what I can do. Yeah. And I would have never had that without the lack that I had in my life. Yep. So I'm actually really thankful for the $0. Yeah. But more of the people and the connections and everything that I got from it. So
we're on the same page on that. Like I am thankful for the struggle. Like that's the one thing in my life where I really see it, because like I grew up with my mom, like we kind of grew up poor, but my dad, like, he's affluent. Like my dad has money. He was a pilot. He made a lucrative career being a pilot. So my sisters on my father's side and my brother, they grew up affluent. Like they lived in a big house, nice cars, Mercedes, boats, whatever. Like they grew up having money and being taken care of.
That's the same daddy you're trying to yell at? No, I'm just kidding.
Yep. Be his friend. Because, and here's why, because for me, because I grew up poor, when I met him and he tried to just buy me, I didn't understand that, because I never had money anyway, right? So that's where our disconnect was, me and my father. Culturally, it's like, no, Dad, I want you to know who I am. I want you to understand who I am. That's why when men try to throw their money for me, I don't like it, and I don't like it because of my father. I don't like it. I don't respect it, because first of all, men who lead with their money, when I go to ask you for it, you better give it, because you've led with your money to begin with. So now that I need it, just to be needing it, I don't have to give up anything. No, you've been throwing your money in my face this whole time. You've been saying how you got this, you got that. So let's see it. Pay a couple of these bills. I'm going to put your money where your mouth is.
Right. Finally. You're throwing it when I didn't need it.
Exactly. So that's why I'm like, but do you really know me? Right. So it definitely, growing up poor definitely teaches you
the know me part, because I feel like it's so impersonal a lot of times when we think about networking and we think about it as let me get to know you so I can see what you can do for me. And that's the part that I don't like. Yep. Because I'm like, no, I don't I don't want to know who you know. I don't want to know what you got. I don't want to know how I can get something through you. What I want to know is I want to know your story. I want to know your journey. I want to know your heart. Because if your heart isn't aligned with my purpose, it goes back to that, even in friendships. So it's not just relationships for me.
That's true.
If your heart isn't aligned with my purpose, and if I feel like you're going to derail something that God has me on a path to, I can't connect with you right now. Doesn't mean that I never can, or doesn't mean that I can't help you.
Right.
But just right now, it's not our time.
Yeah.
So it's really about the heart for me.
Yeah, and I think, what's important for people to understand about networking is that just exactly what you said. It's not, okay, we met. Now, what can you get from me? What can I get from you? Oh, we've networked. No, the network is the continuous connection. Yes. Now, what can we do next month? Okay, what can we do the following month? Want to meet up here? Let's go grab some lunch.
Yes.
How's your business going? Okay, how's your business going? What have you been like? That's networking. That like making those genuine connections, building that rapport with other entrepreneurs, just like you should with your clients.
Rapport.
Exactly.
Because a lot of people, I feel it. Yeah. I can feel when you're fake. So like I feel like I sit down with some of these folks, and that's exactly what they do. Is they're like they have like a list of questions that they just read everybody, like, how are you? How are your kids? How are your, and I'm like, no. Like, let's walk it out together.
Yep.
Because that's where, like I said, that's the community sense that I came from, is that connection.
Yeah.
So I don't want to just be here just to be here with you.
Yeah.
Just to say that we did it, just to take a selfie, just to post it. Like, I want to really be here with you.
Yeah.
I really want to hear what you have to say. I really want to hear what you're about. I really want to hear your struggle. Like you shared your struggle earlier. Like, I want to hear that kind of stuff, because then I know, hey, you know what? There might be a need there, and hey, I might know somebody here. Now that's a network,
that is,
and then that's where you see, oh man, she really has a heart to help. She's coming through for me. She's pretty solid. Now you see who I am. And that's when we can start to move forward and build a foundation, and then that foundation will lead to strong business.
Yep, it sure does, man. Sabrina, every time, man. We're gonna, you know what? Let's take a quick commercial break, and then we'll dive right back into it. Oh, wow. It's 1:56. Man, forget the commercial break. Sorry, we're not taking a commercial break.
We're about done.
We're going to go ahead and wrap it up here.
We can finish our tacos.
You already went to commercial? Oh, okay. I thought you were on
still going.
Sorry. Okay, well, you know what?
I just threw some baby cries in there.
I looked at the time like, wait. That's why, and when I tell people I have a 2-hour podcast, I say this all the time. I'm like, it's 2 hours, but I promise you, when you sit down, by the time we get up, that 2 hours flies by. So I just imagine an hour, like, it's just too much content to cover in an hour. It's too much content to cover. But anywho, we've reached the end of the podcast. And so, like, at every end of the podcast, I want you just to remind people who you are, where they can find you, and how they can authentically connect with you.
Yeah. So, it's really just me. Sabrina Luna on Facebook. And my Instagram tag is Sweet Sabrine 8502. It's my son's birth year and my birth year together. Website is coming soon. Like I said, I've been helping other people build their websites, so I haven't had a chance to do mine. But transformation culture is the business. Through my whole life, it's been a journey of transformation, like I see so many other people go through. And so that's where that culture bred. And my daughter actually came up with the name.
I love it.
So, yeah. Transformation Culture was birthed, and we're here. So you can connect with me as Sabrina Luna, and you'll see our website soon.
And then one more time about your podcast.
On
Mondays. The Nerve.
Yes.
Please
I love it. By Red Goose Saloon in Fort Worth. We do The Nerve live and in person. RJ Prince, LOA Rooster, and Will Majors will all be there. Come and share your opinion. Our topics are just on a rolling basis, and we want strong opinions. So come through. It starts at 7 p.m.
Strong opinions that hit the nerve.
Right.
I love it.
Make somebody cry.
Well, you guys, man, this has been Sabrina. Thank you so much for stopping by. This has been great. I love this. this podcast, like, thank you all for tuning in here on Facebook Live. Thank you all to the listeners here. You guys don't know how much this podcast helps me, and I wanted to help you as well. So we're all just helping each other. So I love this dynamic that we have here. But as always, you guys, stay safe. We'll be back next Monday with another special guest. And go out there, be great. Have a great day. Que tengan buen día ustedes.
Hi, I wanted to come on here today to introduce you all to Carlie Ray. I wrote a children's book, y'all. Carlie Ray is a new character in my series, Carlie Ray and Crew. And the first edition is the first day of school. So you all can purchase this book now on Amazon. But before you do, I have to give a few thank yous out. So first, I wanted to thank my friends and family for being supportive of me during this process. I wrote this book in 2015 and I held on to it for about 3 years, which is a long time, but they've been here every step of the way. I also needed to thank my team, Jeremy Robinson, Alexandria Walker, and Frederick Buffington. We all happen to be Zeta Phi Beta Sigma. Isn't that great? So the book, like I said, is available on Amazon today. You can simply search Carlie Ray and Crew, or you can search my name, Latia Wyatt. But I'm doing something special. So the first 30 people who purchase the book directly from me will receive a token of my appreciation. So all you have to do is send your full name, address, and email address to my inbox or my DM along with your Cash App. The price of the book plus shipping and handling is $18.50. Thank you guys so much for your support, and I can't wait to see the pictures that you and your family post when you read Carlie Ray and Crew. Have a good day.